Welcome back to the graveyard, everybody. My name is Mads, and this is going to be a more serious video today. Originally, I was planning, as you can probably tell by my attire, on doing my first segment of my new playlist I'm putting together that's going to be called Spooky Sleepover, where I just tell spooky ghost stories or just scary stories in general and have fun in my pajamas. But something's been in my head for a few days now, and it was a Peter Mon video. You can find him on this app pretty easily. He made one about a guy that was a huge bully of his in high school, and like really vicious, relentless, carry it with you the rest of your life type bullying. Really bad levels of it. And that it really scarred him. But that later on in life, he met this guy again. He'd turned a new leaf. Not only was he apologetic for everything he'd done to Peter, he went as far as to be really supportive and kind to the queer community as a whole, that he would go to queer events and stuff to the point where it was almost excessive and like, okay, calm down, you don't have to go everywhere. He even says, like, you don't have to attend every event, it's fine. And that he thought this guy was really safe, that they had gotten relatively close during that time of their lives. And all of a sudden, like a week or so ago, he saw a Facebook post by this same guy that had been such a loud and proud supporter of the queer community, suddenly post this long, hateful paragraph about how evil and dangerous and satanic queer people are, that we're like a blight that needs to be taken out of the country. And that he said it was bad enough that he thought he could trust this guy, and he backslid right back to where he was in high school again with no warning. And why did he even have queer people on his Facebook if that's how he felt about them? But on top of that, that there was, in Peter's own words, hundreds of comments under the video all agreeing with this guy and thinking everything he said was perfectly acceptable and fine, and saying downright scary, potentially dangerous things about it. I watched it a few days ago. I watched it on Sunday, this video. I haven't been able to get out of my head. It was very impromptu. He wasn't planning on making like a video like that day. It wasn't scripted or anything. But the thing is, on any social media platform, generally when you have an unscripted video and everything's just coming straight from your heart and what you're feeling in that moment, sometimes those are the most articulate, beautiful, and deeply moving videos you can make. That's exactly what that Peter Mon video was. And because I couldn't get out of my head, especially a couple specific segments of it, I decided to write my own Facebook post based on the video itself, sharing the video itself, and how I feel about it and the political climate going on in the United States and other countries right now. Because it's not just concentrated here, it's all over the place. And while I was getting up the nerve to take the post off of only me settings, I made a TikTok where I read the post to my audience there because I think it's incredibly important. I'm now going to share that TikTok with you, so you'll have to forgive the fact that the remainder of this video is going to be vertical because you kind of have to film vertically for TikTok. That's just how the app works. But hopefully you can ignore a couple black boxes on the side and pay attention to the message of the video and how important the things I'm saying in it are. Because especially if you are an ally to queer people, you really need to listen to us right now. You need to uplift our voices. You need to understand why life is terrifying right now. So, without further faffing around, here's the TikTok. I am about to post the realest, rawest, and scariest public post I've ever made in my life on Facebook, Instagram, stories on here, everywhere that I possibly can. It actually made me shake while I was writing it, but I think it's incredibly important, and it was inspired by a video by Peter Mon. For anyone who doesn't know who he is a Gen X gay guy on YouTube. His main channel is just talking about like drama and stuff and controversies in the YouTube sphere, but he has a channel called, I think, Peter Vlogs. And the other day, he opened up and was very real and raw. And he talked about how terrifying it is to be queer in this country right now and all the reasons why. And that it's not dramatic. It's not anyone exaggerating anything that's going on. It's real, and people need to listen to queer voices when we tell you why we're scared. Don't argue. Don't say, oh, that's never going to happen, because guess what? Half the stuff you think will never happen already has, or it's on its way to happening. So what I want to do is, before I make a lot of it visible in writing, I want to read the post to you right now. So I link the Peter Mon video on it, and I say, I am not posting this as any kind of political statement. In fact, I am pretty tired of politics, since my very existence has become fuel for politicians. However, if you are an ally of the LGBTQ+ community and you have some time to spare, I do ask that you give this video a watch. He perfectly articulated how it feels to be queer in any capacity right now. The part of the video that especially resonated with me is the point where he mentions the fact that in the mid-2000s, there was finally this time of peace, a time where we felt we could finally be out and not be as scared. Yes, vicious people did still exist, but they were normally kept quiet, avoided queer spaces, or maybe one or two idiots would stand outside a gay club yelling the same tired nonsense we've all heard before. Sadly, that's all changed. The time of peace has long passed, and now many of us are being forced back into the closet as a result of fear or a need for safety. People are loudly and proudly hateful and downright dangerous now. I follow the Human Rights Campaign, and almost every single day a queer person is either taking their own life because they just can't do it anymore, or are being murdered. What's even scarier is many of the perps are not being charged with hate crimes. Some may wonder why being charged with a hate crime is so important if they go to jail anyway. Well, it's important because it shows anyone with similar intentions that the punishment will be severe because it was a crime motivated by unfounded hatred. If you don't want people committing a crime for hateful reasons, you need to make sure there are real consequences faced for hate crimes, and in many states, the gay panic law is still in place. For those of you who are not in the know, the gay panic defense basically allows people to say they committed a violent crime against a queer person, usually gay or trans, because they didn't know that person was queer, and the shock of it caused them to basically go temporarily insane, causing the violence. If you think that sounds absurd and sick, you're right. This is why so many of us take so long to come out. I have seen people who were best friends with their dad until they came out. Then they were suddenly homeless, and all that love was gone in an instant. Regardless of how safe you try to be, it will always be the bravest thing a queer person can do if they come out to you. I hope if I have come out to you, that you have felt honored that I trusted you. Trust does not come easy to me. I was mercilessly bullied in high school because I wanted to wear suits to some of the dances instead of sparkly dresses. Even though the kid probably doesn't even remember it, I will always remember walking home to the library on my way home from high school and having some dickhead kid throw a chunk of gravel at me while screaming the F slur at the top of his lungs. You never forget the people who made you feel unsafe. You never forget the whispers, the rumors, the jeers. It stays with you and resurfaces every time you have to come out, because you don't just come out once. You come out every single time you realize someone is going to become a permanent part of your life, and no matter how many times you do it, the act never gets any easier. I thank Peter for posting his very raw video. He really did encapsulate how it feels to be queer in the United States right now. Not to mention the fact that this hatred has spread like a plague and made it to other countries. Nations outside our own tend to watch us under a microscope, and if they realize our government has allowed some sort of hatred to go unchecked, they start up the same crap in their own countries. I didn't write this to make anyone feel bad. In fact, this will be one of the only public and shareable posts I ever make here, meaning like on meta sites, not here, because it's that important. Please let fellow allies see this if you are one, and check in on your queer friends. We need you. And there's not much more I can say than what I wrote in that post. I'm deathly scared of making it shareable. I don't know if some haters have been lurking around this whole time just waiting to pounce. It could go any direction, but like I said, it's important. It needs to be shared. It needs to be talked about more. I am sick and tired of people trying to tell me, oh, stuff like Project 2025, like they're not going to repeal gay marriage. They're not going to overturn gay marriages that already exist. They're not going to get rid of trans rights. You're not part of the community, so you don't know. Clearly you don't know, because the same people saying things like that are the ones who are sitting here telling us things like, oh, You should be happy because you have gay marriage. You won. You have equality now. Not realizing that's like the only right we have in a lot of states. Like I said, in many states, there's still gay panic defense. You can be denied housing. You can be denied a job, lose your job. You can be denied the right to adoption. You can be denied the right to say goodbye to your lifelong partner as they're dying in the hospital. You can be denied the right to attend their funeral. All these things that non-queer people never have to think twice about, we do. I'm finally getting my marriage to my partner finalized on Friday. It took a month to find someone safe to officiate. My straight sister didn't have to worry about that. She could just call up a priest and it was done. No big deal. This is why I say even if you're an ally, you need to really listen and uplift queer voices, because you can be understanding, but there are some things you just won't understand fully, because luckily you'll never have to live through them, because I wouldn't wish this stuff on anyone. So yeah, that's basically all I really have to say on the matter. I mean, I'm sure I could go on and on about this for hours if I really wanted to, but I'm a little bit heart tired. I might disable comments on this video because you never know who's going to be lurking. And as much as I can kind of ignore it, I know not everyone can. And I don't want people who are already hurting more. But those of you who generally are very kind to me on here, if you want to say something nice about this video, you're welcome to DM me on Instagram. And until next time, do something kind for yourself, so long as you're not hurting anyone else in the process. And I'll see all of you again in a later video.